Good morning, watch nerds. Once again, please allow me to apologise for the ugly splint on the finger of my right hand. This was done defending myself against a rather angry Chelsea fan. If you don't live in the UK and you don't get that pun, once again, I apologise. Reverie, meaning daydream. Yet another microbrand out of Singapore. It seems like Singapore are taking over the world of watches. Now I have a policy of buy a watch, sell a watch, so in order to buy this watch, I sold a watch I previously raved about, and that's the Richard Le Grand Oceanfarer, yet another Singapore-based brand. I'd already watched some reviews on this watch, so when this one came up on eBay UK, I thought I just had to give it a bash. Very rarely, but every now and again, I open a parcel when a watch arrives and it just blows me off my feet. And this watch just did it. And welcome to my unpaid and unsponsored review of the Reverie Diver. So let's have a look at the dimensions. Well, it's got a case of 40mm. The lug width is 20mm. The depth is 12mm, and it's got a very short lug to lug of 43.4mm. Once it's been adjusted to fit my 17cm wrist, it weighs about 134 grams. Now the dimensions and the case shape for this watch actually make it ideal for a smaller wrist as well as a larger. And here's the presentation and packaging. It's a nice black watch roll. Inside it is some instructions, a spare strap and a cleaning cloth. But no box, strangely enough. And if interested, this is my watch of the day. It's the San Martin SN026G, or what I call the square watch. It has a 200 metre water resistance rating, which is perfect for swimming and shallow diving. I'm pleased the case depth wasn't increased in order unnecessary water resistance could be achieved. Now the crown is unprotected by crown guards. It's signed, it's well knurled in the checker type pattern, it's approximately 6mm, it screws down and operates the movement without issue. It's got a pleasing pop when it's unscrewed and it engages nicely when screwed back in. Now inside the watch, and let me show you, is the Myo to 9039 automatic movement, which is the same as the 9015, only without the date facility. It's nice to see Reverie use the correct calibre in order there's no ghost position. Now it's a 4Hz high beat movement that ticks away at 28,800 beats per hour. It hacks and it hand winds, and it's known for its reliability. Regulated correctly, these can be very accurate, although the positional variance isn't quite as good as a Swiss equivalent. It's true some people moan about the noisy unidirectional rotor, but whilst on the wrist I've never actually noticed it. Let's have a look how it performs on the time grapher. There we are, decent amplitude, an acceptable rate, but the beat error is quite poor. I think the back's going to come off of this one. There we are, a few minutes later, much better. The crystal is a flat sapphire and it's got some AR coating on the underside. Now the bezel is stainless steel, and when bought new you've got the choice between a diver's bezel or a GMT bezel. Needless to say, this is the diver's variant. Now the 120 click action, have a listen to it now, is absolutely fantastic, almost to the point it's sensual. It's got no backplay, it's got no wobble, it all appears to line up perfectly. Now the case is almost solely satin brushed, although there is a polished transition between the sides and the top. For me, this is the perfect balance, and this case really is very good. Now the very short lug to lug is achieved by not really having lugs as such, meaning the bracelet or the strap is actually attached directly to the case. I suppose you could call it a sort of a cushion case. It's got a screwed down back, it's an exhibition style, and it's actually made of sapphire. Around the outside is some basic information, and you can see this is number 39 of 125, as 125 of each colourway were actually produced. The dial is what drew me to this watch. It's gorgeous. They come in various colours, but Reverie opted not to make a black version, which I believe may have been a mistake. This is the green dial, but in some lights it actually looks grey. So let's have a look at the dial in a little bit more detail. The rehaut accommodates the minute track, then comes the next layer which houses the flat baton applied indices. The inner circle has got a galoose type texture and plays with the light beautifully. I could tell you what it says on the dial, but unless you can't read, it's a bit pointless. But what is nice is that the second hand matches the coloured script above the 6 o'clock. There are skeleton sword hands that are filled with BGW9 loom, whilst the indices have applied C3 loom. It's far from the best loom I've ever seen on the watch, but in my experience this is common with more dressy divers. Anyway, let's have a look at that loom. The watch is a pretty traditional style oyster bracelet, which is a shame because I feel a Jubilee or a Beta Rice bracelet would have suited it perfectly. It doesn't have end links as such, because it fits directly to the case rather than into any lugs. Now it flares out from 20mm to 23mm, then down to 16mm and back up to 18 for the clasp. The bracelet is nicely brushed, it articulates well and it's very comfortable. Adjustment is made via well-engineered push pins rather than screw pins, but at least they gave us some quick release spring bars for easy strap changes. Now, on the point of strap changes, Reverie give us this rather nice silicone rubber strap, again with quick release spring bars. If I can get this in the right light, you can actually see that the pattern on the back of the strap matches that of the dial and the rotor. Very clever. Now Reverie decided to give us something a little bit different to the normal microbrand class. They've given us something a little bit more similar to Rolex's offering, albeit not nearly as good. It's fully milled, it's well made, it's nicely brushed. It's a little bit long and a little bit bulky. Now, it's got this flip lock, but what does impress me is this top part is hinged rather than just a friction fit. It's actually made quite well. What's disappointing is its glide lock system. It works with all the links already in, but once links have been removed, they don't actually fit in there and you can't close it properly. You see? What a shame. Price and value for money. The watch was originally released on Kickstarter for $375 with the intention of it eventually rising to $499. At the point of this review, that's March 2022, it's an offer at $399. I kinda suspect very few people ever actually paid the full price. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a $399 watch. Now for what it's worth, I paid £200 for a used one off of eBay UK. That's about $250. Please don't forget, if you live in the UK, you have to build in duty and taxes if you're buying directly from Reverie. Taking into account the specification and the unique design, I consider $399 a very good price for this watch. As far as I'm concerned, the only real QC issue is that clasp adjustment that I mentioned earlier. Although a lovely watch, there are a few things I would change if I designed a Mark II version. Firstly, I'll give it a more ornate bracelet, and secondly, I would replace the exhibition case back with a more traditional solid one. I'm not the greatest lover of exhibition case backs, but especially on divers. Other than that, all is very good. I like the fact they use the correct movement, the dial is stunning, and the overall fit and finish of this watch is absolutely fantastic. This watch has got a lot to live up to, as it's replacing a watch I thought very highly of. If it wasn't for my one in, one out policy, I never would have sold that Richard Legrand. Like many microbands, they aren't the easiest watches to get hold of, so if you decide you like this model, they do have a few left on their website, and if like me, you get the opportunity to buy a good used one, I would strongly suggest you consider doing so. Now that brings me to the end of this review, so if you've enjoyed it, please click on the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, leave your comments below, and more importantly, enjoy the rest of your day.